Welcome back to my channel, Famous and Fabulous. Paul Hogan tells about the tough times during his divorce from Linda Kozlowski. Paul Hogan was born on October 8, 1939, in a small country town called Lightning Ridge in New South Wales, Australia. This town was famous for digging up opals and had a tough, wild West feeling. He was born in the late 1930s, which means he grew up during hard times after the Great Depression and World War II. Not much is known about his parents and early family life, but growing up in the Australian countryside helped shape his down-to-earth sense of humour and simple personality. These things would later make him famous both in movies and in real life. Growing up in a working-class family, he didn't have the fancy path that most entertainers have. Instead, he made his own way using his toughness, smartness, and natural charm. As a young man, Hogan got one of the hardest and most well-known jobs in Sydney, working as a rigger on the Sydney Harbour Bridge. This job needed bravery, strength, and someone who wasn't afraid of heights, because riggers had to fix and take care of the huge steel bridge. This work made him tough and showed him what real manual labour was like, but it also let him meet all kinds of different people and see situations that he would later use in his comedy. Standing high above the busy harbour, Hogan was far away from the entertainment world, but the job taught him how to laugh when things were dangerous or hard. This became a big part of his comedy style later on. Paul Hogan's first taste of fame didn't come from careful planning, but from taking a big chance. In 1971, he went on an Australian TV show called New Faces, which was a talent show for new performers. At that time, Hogan wasn't a professional comedian, but his natural wit and special style of humour, which included making fun of himself, cheeky comments, and a clearly Australian flavour, immediately connected with audiences. His comedy was different because it was raw, unpolished, and truly Australian, giving something different from the often imported styles that were on TV. The audience and judges loved him, and Hogan quickly realised that he had found a gift that could take him far beyond his rigging job on the Harbour Bridge. The huge popularity of his comedy talent soon gave Hogan the chance to have his own show. The Paul Hogan Show, which he not only starred in, but also wrote and produced, became a TV hit throughout the 1970s and early 1980s. The show was known for its sketch comedy format, filled with weird characters, silly situations, and a making fun of things edge that poked fun at both everyday life and Australian stereotypes. Audiences loved its disrespectful humour, and Hogan's ability to laugh at himself made millions of people like him. The show's appeal went beyond Australia, getting fans in places like South Africa, making Hogan's reputation as an entertainer with international reach even stronger. His hard work was recognised in 1973 when he won the important TV Week Logie Award in the Best New Talent category, which clearly showed that his comedy star was rising. Hogan's move into acting began in small ways. He made his first movie appearance in 1980 with a small part in the Australian film Fatty Finn, a light-hearted movie that gave him a small taste of the film industry. 5 years later, he took on a bigger role as Lance Corporal Pat Clary in the TV miniseries Anzacs, a historical drama about Australian soldiers during World War I. This role let him explore his acting skills, proving that he could handle more serious stuff as well as comedy. By this time, Hogan had firmly established himself as a beloved TV figure, but the world was about to discover him in a much bigger way. In 1986, Paul Hogan became an international superstar with the release of Crocodile Dundee. Not only did he star in the movie, but he also co-wrote the screenplay, creating the story of Michael J. Dundee, a charming bushman with a bigger-than-life personality. The film, directed by Peter Feynman, followed the adventures of Dundee as he moved between the Australian outback and the busy streets of New York City, creating a funny culture clash that audiences around the world found irresistible. Made on a pretty small budget of under $10 million, Crocodile Dundee became a box office phenomenon, making hundreds of millions worldwide. It wasn't just a money success, but also a cultural one, putting Australia firmly on the movie map and making Hogan a global household name. The success of Crocodile Dundee brought Hogan awards and critical recognition. He won the Golden Globe Award for Best Actor in a Comedy or Musical Movie, and his screenplay earned him an Academy Award nomination, along with a BAFTA nomination. Few actors achieve such acclaim in their first major international role, but Hogan's magnetic presence and natural comedic timing made Dundee unforgettable. He had tapped into a universal character type, the rugged, good-natured outsider who could charm anyone, and audiences responded with enthusiasm. Following the massive success of the first film, Hogan played his role again in Crocodile Dundee 2 in 1988. While the sequel made money, it got lukewarm reviews from critics who felt it failed to capture the fresh magic of the original. Despite this, Hogan's star power remained strong. In 1990, he appeared in the comedy drama Almost an Angel, in which he played a small-time crook given a chance at redemption. Unfortunately, the film was both a commercial and critical disappointment. His 1994 Western comedy Lightning Jack also failed to win over critics, though Hogan's unique brand of humor was still appreciated by loyal fans. In 1996, Hogan starred in the family film Flipper, a remake of the classic TV series, playing the role of a grumpy uncle who bonds with his nephew. And a friendly dolphin, Hogan's performance was praised, even though the film itself failed at the box office, earning only $20 million against a $25 million budget. Interestingly, despite its money problems, the movie was nominated for several awards, showing Hogan's lasting ability to connect with audiences on screen. In 1998, he appeared in the made-for-TV film Floating Away, continuing to take on different roles. Hogan returned to his most famous character one final time in 2001 with Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. While the film didn't match the success of the earlier movies and was considered the weakest of the trilogy, it marked the end of an era for Hogan and the Dundee character that had defined his career. After Dundee's farewell, Hogan began to step back from Hollywood and focus more on life outside of the spotlight. In the following years, Hogan took on smaller projects, including the Australian comedy Strange Bedfellows in 2004, about two men who pretend to be a gay couple for money reasons, and Charlie and Boots in 2009, a road movie about the relationship between a father and son. Both films did well in Australia and reminded audiences of Hogan's lasting charm and comedic warmth. By 2013, although he was no longer acting regularly, Hogan made a memorable guest appearance on Adam Hill's Tonight, showing that his humor and charisma had not faded with time. Paul Hogan's personal life has been marked by long-lasting relationships, family responsibilities, and also publicized marriage struggles that often drew as much attention as his career. His first marriage was to Noeline Edwards, whom he married in 1958, long before he became famous as a comedian or international movie star. At that time, Hogan was still a young man working blue-collar jobs in Sydney, and the marriage represented stability and family life during his early years. Together, Hogan and Edwards raised a large family, having 5 children over the course of their marriage. For many years, their union appeared to outsiders as strong and lasting as they weathered Hogan's gradual rise from construction work to TV comedy and eventually film stardom. However, by 1981, after more than 20 years together, their relationship had reached a breaking point. The couple separated and finalized a divorce, which was a difficult and emotional process given their long history and the number of children involved. Despite this, their story took an unusual turn. Less than a year after their divorce, Hogan and Edwards chose to remarry, suggesting there was still love and a desire to repair the bond they once had. This getting back together, though hopeful, ultimately didn't last. In 1986, Hogan started divorce proceedings once more, and this second divorce became infamous in Australia. It was widely covered in the press and was even labelled as one of the nation's ugliest celebrity divorces. Media outlets reported heavily on the money settlements, personal accusations, and emotional toll, turning what should have been a private matter into a public spectacle. After moving on from his difficult first marriage, Hogan found love again, in a very different way. While filming the blockbuster hit Crocodile Dundee in the mid-1980s, he developed a close relationship with his co-star, the American actress Linda Kozlowski. Their on-screen chemistry translated into real life, and the pair married in 1990. Unlike his long marriage to Edwards, Hogan's relationship with Kozlowski was built during his peak fame, and the two became one of the most recognizable couples in Hollywood and Australia alike. Together they had one child, a son named Chance, born in 1998. For many years, they appeared to have a stable and loving marriage, often attending public events together and presenting a united front as Hogan's. Career continued. Yet even this marriage eventually faced difficulties. In October 2013, after more than 2 decades together, Kozlowski filed for divorce from Hogan, citing irreconcilable differences. The decision was reportedly amicable compared to his earlier divorce, and both parties emphasized mutual respect and care for their son. The divorce was finalized in 2014, marking the end of Hogan's second marriage. As a father, Hogan's family life has always been extensive and important. With Noeline Edwards, he had 5 children: Brett, Clay, Scott, Todd, and Lauren. Each of them grew up during Hogan's rise to fame, experiencing both the ordinary family life of their early years and the unusual pressures that come with having a celebrity father. With Linda Kozlowski, Hogan's 6th and youngest child, Chance Hogan was born, giving him a son nearly 40 years after his first child. His role as a father to both older adult children and a younger son later in life has often been noted as central to his personal identity, even as his marriages changed over the years. Paul Hogan, the Australian actor who captured worldwide fame with his portrayal of Mick Crocodile Dundee, has lived a life filled with both triumphs and personal struggles. Among the most painful chapters of his personal story was his divorce from Linda Kozlowski, his co-star in the Crocodile Dundee films, and his wife for over 2 decades. When Hogan has chosen to think back on the separation, his words reveal not only the pain of a broken marriage, but also the heavy emotional toll that fame, lifestyle differences, and years of shared history can have on 2 people once deeply in love. Hogan admitted that the divorce was anything but easy, and he has not shied away from describing the lasting scars. It was heartbreaking, Hogan confessed, acknowledging that parting ways with Kozlowski felt like losing both a partner and a best friend. Having met in the late 1980s while filming the movie that would catapult them both to international fame, their relationship seemed like a fairy tale to the outside world. The rugged Aussie hero and the glamorous American actress appeared to be a perfect match both on screen and off. Yet, as Hogan has explained, beneath the polished Hollywood image, there were cracks that widened over the years. Thinking back on the breakdown of their relationship, Hogan once said, "Divorce is like surgery without pain medicine. You feel every cut, every tear, and it leaves scars you can't see, but you feel every single day." This vivid description highlights just how deeply the separation affected him. Though he is known for his sharp wit and easygoing humor, Hogan admitted that the divorce stripped him of his natural optimism for a time. "You think you're tough, you think you can handle anything, but when the person you built your life with walks away, it's like the ground disappears beneath you," he explained. Part of the agony for Hogan came from the sudden emptiness that Linda's absence created in his daily life. For more than 20 years, they had been partners in everything, raising their son, Chance, navigating the highs and lows of Hollywood fame, and traveling between Australia and the United States. When she left, the silence in the house was deafening, Hogan recalled. "I'd walk past her empty chair or see her coffee cup in the cupboard, and it was like a stab to the heart." Such comments reveal the raw human side of a man often portrayed as the larger-than-life Crocodile Dundee, reminding fans that fame and fortune do not shield anyone from personal anguish. Hogan has also been honest about the challenges of separating from someone who shared not only his private life, but also his professional journey. "It's not like you can just erase the past," he remarked. "Every movie, every photo, every memory has her face in it. That's not something you can just pack away in a box." Their marriage had been more than a personal bond. It was woven into the very fabric of Hogan's career and public identity. That entanglement made the process of moving on far more complicated than it might have been for an ordinary couple. Despite the bitterness of divorce proceedings, Hogan has consistently expressed respect for Linda as both a mother and a person. Still, his words hint at the quiet suffering that lingers long after the legal documents are signed. People think divorce ends the pain once the papers are filed, Hogan observed. But the truth is, that's when it begins. That's when you start living with the absence, the loneliness, and the wondering if you could have done something different. His thoughts are those of a man who has wrestled not only with regret, but also with the unavoidable reality that sometimes, love, even when genuine, cannot bridge differences that grow too wide. Ultimately, Hogan has tried to find perspective in the heartbreak. You learn to live with it, he said softly. The scars don't vanish, but you find a way to keep going. Life doesn't stop because your heart's been broken. You just hope the next chapter is a little kinder. These words reveal a man who has endured deep personal loss, but continues to seek peace and resilience in the face of life's hardships. For Paul Hogan, the divorce from Linda Kozlowski was not merely the end of a marriage, but the unraveling of a partnership that had defined much of his adult life. His honest comments lay bare the emotional costs of celebrity relationships and remind the world that behind every Hollywood love story lies the same human vulnerability that touches us all.